Anita, how's your mental health?
Questionable at all times. You know this.
Yeah, how's the mental health of your children?
Also a little bit tricky. Can I tell you my experience in trying to find therapists for myself and my kids, Mel?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is how it goes. You ask around your friends and your family for a referral for somebody who's nearby. You finally find somebody who sounds like they might work for your family. You give them a call and you find out that A, they're not accepting new patients, or B, they have a huge wait list. So you start over again and you ask people if they know anybody who would be a good therapist and a good fit. Finally, you find one, you go and you meet with them and you figure out that you don't actually like them that much. But it's been so much work to find somebody who you can go to in your area that you're kind of stuck with them. Well, do you have any ideas for how to get around this?
I do, because guess what? I've actually had some therapists that I have found on my own, which involves what you're saying. Sometimes I remember one time I was like 3 hours in the bathtub on my phone looking through websites. I was such a prune at the end. But I have also had the experience with working with BetterHelp. And it was like, I don't want to say too good to be true, but because it is true, but it's like amazing because I was matched with my therapist within 24 hours.
And you didn't have to go through all of that other ridiculous process of trying to find somebody. And here's the cool thing too, is if that person didn't work out for you, you can just switch and say, and it's not like you're committing to another years long search for somebody who you're going to jive with.
It's true. And I lucked out, or maybe just BetterHelp is really good at matching people together because I never had to change my therapist. I loved her. Perfect fit for me. And I know that some of our friends have used BetterHelp and they've had to change therapists, and boom, same day, you can change.
Easy peasy.
You can ghost your therapist. Get a new one.
I love this idea. BetterHelp is one of our sponsors. If you use our promo code trybetterhelp.com/WWDN, you get 10% off your first month. And we totally recommend it.
Yes. Get some therapy. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
Start spreading the news. We're recording today.
Oops.
Well, we've made it another week, and we're here still on this planet. I must warn you, there are probably going to be some squeaky chicken noise in the background.
Because you got chickens today?
No, you know that like rubber chicken that you squeeze and it's like, yeah, yeah. One of my kids got one.
We have a dog toy like that, and it's so funny.
Yeah, I was like, don't squeeze that, but
But maybe.
probably gonna happen.
What's been going on this week, Anita?
I can't even remember.
I'll tell you what we did together. We rode our bikes again.
We did. I forgot.
Yeah.
That was fun. We rode until it got too snowy, and then we had to turn around and come back home.
I was coming out of a grief trigger sort of a thing, and it was weird because normally when I start exercising and riding the bike, then I start feeling better, and I didn't feel better till 20 minutes after I got home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, not cool that it didn't come sooner, but it is cool that it kept going after you were done.
Yeah, and then I felt really good for like a day and a half. It was great.
That's interesting.
I just want to exercise one time and have the high kick in.
For like a long period of time. You want a long acting runner's high.
Like a year.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I will see what we can do.
Thanks.
But I have a feeling it's bad news.
Anita almost got taken out by a guy coming around the corner.
That's normal.
Is it really?
That happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like good, but that happens at least once a bike ride. Somebody comes down the hill too fast and tries to pummel you, especially on that trail. It's very busy. You cannot go there on the weekend.
I will not.
Never. Yeah. What's happening with you this week?
Not much. Mostly that, and my parents are still gone, so I had to put a cat down a couple days ago.
Yeah.
That was sad. And
Poor kitty was
the kitty was
not in great shape.
Old and had problems, so that happened, and we had our Widow Wives Zoom hang.
Always a fun time, and we were talking about how the Zoom hangs are kind of like grief in that you never know what to expect.
Yep.
Sometimes there's crying and sometimes there's ridiculous laughter and never twice the same.
Never. So if you've joined before and you've gotten on one particular time and you're like, oh, well, that wasn't my vibe that time, just wait. It's like the weather. It'll change with every time. I enjoy meeting everybody and talking to them and seeing people connect. And it really helps people's grief, I believe, to have companionship from strangers on the internet.
So we are celebrating a day that is potentially horrible for us, the widows.
When this comes out, it will be the day after said holiday.
La Dia del Madres.
I'm going to just call it, instead of Mother's Day, Other's Day. Because I feel like I've always been an other. You're a mother.
This holiday is can be a minefield for the population in general, because it feels like everybody is like, I don't fit in. And there's just, some people that do.
I know. I hear more stories of people that hate Mother's Day and have bad experiences than people that love it.
I used to be fine with it because I was just like, whatever, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I can just say it's Mother's Day. And I know some people really get down on themselves because it makes them feel like guilty about how bad of mothers they are. Seriously, I'm not even joking. Like, they're like, oh, I'm not even doing a good job and I'm not perfect. And I yell at my kids, and I was never like that. I was like, whatever, I'm doing the best I can. But now I'm like, dang it. Nobody's even going to give me anything. My kids don't even appreciate me. At least my husband appreciated me.
So it's all about presents. Is that what you're saying?
I don't even care about presents. I just want people to be nice to me, actually, all the time.
Okay.
That's another thing about Mother's Day is like people feel like it's stupid that we have one day where we're like, oh, we're going to be nice and kind and respectful, and then we're going to treat you like crap the rest of the year. I hope that all of the people who are moms or not moms had some chocolate and got to take a nap. What else can you want?
And for those who are celebrating Other's Day with me, all you have to do is go watch a bunch of true crime. That's how we celebrate Other's Day.
Isn't that how you celebrate every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know me, I like to normalize holidays and make everything normal so that I feel better.
You're like, I'm anti-holiday. I think all holidays should be
normal.
Not holidays.
Go back to your shanties, you people. Anyway.
So we hope it was a decent day for all of y'all, and that it wasn't too hard to be without your person. Whether your person was the mother, or you are the mother, or neither of you are the mother.
Or you are not a mother and you're another. And you're watching true crime with me.
Yes. So we were just talking about our Widow Wives Club Zoom hang. Remember to go check out the Widow Wives Club on Facebook so you can be part of our group and feel supported and loved and connected with people who get it. Make sure you answer all the questions. If you're having a hard time finding it, there's a link in our Instagram links, and also you can just search on Facebook, Widow Wives Club. Are we ready to do the Patreon shout out? When I'm a-walking, I strut my stuff, and I'm so strung out. Let me go on, like a widow in the sun. Let me go on, 'cause widows want to have fun.
Yeah!
Yeah!
That's from our secret dead husband. And if you don't know that song, it's because you were not a child of the 90s, so apologies to all.
We'll go on to the rest of our deed husbands.
Constance Colored Hair Dahlbach,
David Kelly,
Don Satterwhite,
Ivan Misner, Circle R,
Kat, who received her Patreon t-shirt, and it looks so good.
Now we'll continue on with the Widow Wives. We have Amy.
And then we have another Amy, Sap.
We have Ashley Hahn,
Mindy Holmgren,
Danielle Katterberg,
Dennis Brazo,
Jenny Taylor,
Jenny Wang,
and Kirsten Stromberg,
Laura Bradbury,
Missy Schubert,
Rachel Barbosa,
Sarah Morris,
and And my mom.
Hello, Sylvia. Karen Cornejo.
Now our widow besties, Anna Tracy.
Christina Scambato.
Christina Anderson, who also has a cool shirt.
Diana Becker.
Emily Thornton.
Emily Holy Toledo.
Ooh, Aaron Posick.
Gabe Lozano.
Ileana Bell.
The other mother who's not a mother, who's an other.
Happy Other's Day. Jamie Aliota.
My mom.
Jenny Barrow.
Jocelyn. Milo.
Fancy Lady Joy.
Crawdad Katie Radcliffe. I hope she likes that nickname because if she hates it, it's stuck.
Well, now she gets it, so Katie, let us know.
Kara Scara.
Lori Farrington.
Marie Hoffman.
Marjorie Lewis.
Mary McGowan.
Sarah Kennedy.
Shannon Helm.
Sunshine and Disco Haven.
Tammy Schwartz.
Tara Wallace.
And Valeria L. Q. Packer.
The second.
Yes.
And last but never least, sequined pinstripe Wendy.
Thank you to everybody who supports us on our Patreon. If you would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/WWDN. Help us keep the podcast going. We have 4 tiers starting at $5. If you want to buy us a taco with no commitments, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonow.
Are you stoked for this episode, Anita?
I am. It's a special Mother's Day edition, but not actually on purpose.
But actually, she kind of fits mother and other.
Other.
Now she's mother, but was other.
True enough.
Here is the funny thing about this episode. Anita and I get weird synchronicity things happening sometimes.
So this is the synchronicity that happened with this episode. We wanted to reach out to this lady just because she has a cool story, and never had we heard of anybody who was going through something similar. As soon as we interviewed her, this kept popping up everywhere. People thinking about doing the same thing or their options. And we were like, holy cow, we were meant to talk to her when we did.
And not even just like randomly popped up. Every single day since we heard about her and talked to her. Every day.
So
really weird specific things. So we're excited to bring this episode to you and share it with you.
I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
We're 2 not that great of singers, but wonderful widows trying to figure out widow we do know. This episode is brought to you by the Misner Family Foundation in memory of Elizabeth Misner. Mel.
What?
I'm so excited
I am too.
to tell you or introduce you to our guest today.
Tell me everything.
This is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you. Mel doesn't even realize how excited she is to talk to you yet, but she just got a little taste. Because why? What information did you tell Mel that made her giddy with excitement?
We were just talking about my indoor pig, Emmett.
Okay, let's just repeat that.
Yes, indoor pig, Emmett. Yep.
Sarah Shellenberger has an indoor pig named Emmett. Tell us where you are recording from, Sarah, and a little bit about it.
So I live outside of Oklahoma City on a small farm, and I'm recording from my farmhouse here. So I've got several, mostly rescue animals. I've got a rescue horse, a rescue donkey, 3 dogs that are rescues, and Emmett is the only non-rescued animal. He
was an on-purpose pig
for Emmett. Yeah, he was on purpose. So.
It was planned.
A planned pig.
Is he the diva of the house?
Oh, he runs it. Yeah.
So Mel, do you want to go live at Sarah's house now?
Yes. I would also like to help you rescue all the animals and also plan all the animals. All of it.
It's a good time. A lot of work, but it's worth it.
So do you take care of this farm all by yourself? How?
Well, my husband and I started getting, we got all of these animals together. None of them have been since I have been a widow. But yeah, we would take care of it ourselves. But now that I'm pregnant, my mom and dad help me a ton. So I'm at the very end of my pregnancy now. So, and I'm actually on modified bed rest right now. So I'm actually in my bedroom, sitting in bed with pillows behind me, since I'm not supposed to be really getting out of bed much. So my parents have kind of had to take over a lot of the farm chores, and I've just been so grateful for their help.
That was a spoiler right there.
Oh yeah.
Sarah is also pregnant.
Yes.
How pregnant are you?
Well, I'm 35 weeks, but I started having some contractions this last Thursday and went in, and I'm already dilated, and they think that he could really come any day. So technically still have a few weeks to go. They would induce me the 39th week, which is 4 weeks from tomorrow. But it sounds like he could be here any day now, really. So just kind of making the final preparations and getting ready.
How is Emmett the indoor pig going to deal with a baby?
I don't think very well. It's going to be a problem. So
these are things I've never thought about ever in my entire life.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a birth plan, but home plan is a little more complicated. So how to give everybody the right amount of attention. And yeah, Emmett at night, he likes to jump up on the couch and sit next to me, and while I watch TV and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when there's a baby on my lap instead of a pig.
When the baby's born, are your parents going to have to take Emmett for outings, like to McDonald's and playgrounds?
Yeah. He would probably love that, but he's gotten too big now. So he's farm bound all the time. So,
Is it because he can't fit in his car seat anymore?
Yeah.
Can you put a saddle on a pig, and can a baby ride on the pig? Is he big enough to do that?
He's not that big, but people do. I mean, little kids can ride pigs, but they would have to be like the full-size pigs.
Okay.
Yeah. Emmett would have nothing to do with that.
Sarah,
standards.
Can we back up 12 steps? We are so excited about the pig and the baby that we need to find out how you found yourself being a poor young widow with a farm and a pig and a almost baby.
So I came to Oklahoma for college, and Scott and I went to college together, and we were friends, but we never dated in college. We were more just we hung out with mutual friends. And so I have a lot of memories in college with Scott in them, but we didn't reconnect until many years later. And so in 2017, I was living in Nashville, and I had been in Nashville for several years. And Scott had reached out to me on Facebook, actually, and it just sent me a message, and we just kind of started catching up and chatting. And one thing led to another, and we ended up meeting in Tulsa when I was back at my parents' house for Christmas. And we met for what we thought was going to just be a quick little lunch, and it ended up being 10 hours that we were together. And then he came out to Nashville to see me a couple weeks later, and things just moved pretty quickly from there. And we got engaged, and I ended up moving to Oklahoma, and we got married in September of 2018. So it was kind of a whirlwind. It happened pretty fast, but it was truly one of those situations where they say when you just know, and I'd never experienced that. But with Scott, it was just this immediate, we both just knew that it was right. And we dated for just a few months before we got engaged. And I think a big part of that was we already knew each other pretty well. And I knew his family and just his upbringing and vice versa. So I think it helped us just kind of move that much quicker. But we were married, September 1st, 2018 in Oklahoma. So we bought our first farm, which was about 45 minutes away from here, and quite a bit more land than I've got here. And we made that our home and absolutely loved it. But when he passed, it was just too much for me to take care of on my own. And it was about an hour, a little over an hour outside of the city. And so it just wasn't very convenient for me, thinking about being by myself and hoping to be pregnant at the time, because we did IVF, which is a whole nother story. But it just wasn't working for us or for me to be that far away. So sold that property, decided to stay in Oklahoma, and just moved a little bit closer to the city.
Okay, so when you bought this farm with Scott, what was your intention? Was that like was that your income? Was that how you supported yourselves, or was that more just like you wanted to live there and have that lifestyle?
Yeah, it's more of just like a lifestyle thing. When I lived in Tennessee, I had a couple acres there. I love having land and always wanted animals, and Scott's the same way. So we just kind of wanted to, raise a family out there and have animals. And we just both loved that lifestyle. So it was a dream. But he was a science professor. So
What?
he kind of, yeah. So he taught college. So he would drive into the city and do that during the day. And then, at night we had all these animals to take care of, but we loved it. We absolutely loved it.
Did you only refer to him as professor?
I never referred to him as professor. But, yeah.
Well, I feel like that was an opportunity lost.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
She can start today.
Yes.
I could start today. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about why Professor Scott is no longer with us. What happened?
Really still kind of a mystery. So I was in Barbados, which is where we were doing our IVF. And I was there for our second round of IVF. He was with me for our first. And then for the second round, he wasn't able to get away from work for that length of time. So I was actually in Barbados with my mom. And I was on my way home and was in Toronto for the night. And when I landed, I got a call that he was teaching a class and had had a heart attack. And he just passed away. They were able to get him, I guess, I don't know if stable is the right word, but he was hooked up to life support, and I was able to change flights and get back to be able to be by his side for a few days, but nothing had improved. And they were able to do CAT scans and tell that he had lost brain activity. And so we had to make the decision. I had to make the decision to remove life support. Super healthy 41-year-old. I mean, he was a college athlete but.
When did this happen?
It was 13 months ago. It was February 21st of 2020.
So for those who are doing the math, they are going to figure out that you were not pregnant when Scott died.
For sure.
You want to tell us about that decision and how you came to there? We actually know other people who are considering doing this.
Really?
Yes. So we're super excited to hear what your journey was. Sometimes we assume that unless we had a huge life insurance payout, we don't really need to know anything about investments or even finances. But guess what? A little knowledge of finances is critical for all of us. Maybe your partner was in charge of that stuff, and now you find yourself making all the decisions. Maybe you're mad about that. Maybe I am. Nicole from the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast is here to help. She tackles financial literacy by telling the stories of women and widows and finance experts, and shares the lessons they've learned as certified financial planners. Whether you know a lot and feel confident in your financial decisions or feel unsure about all of that stuff, there is more to learn. Listen and subscribe to the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast on all podcast platforms. This ad was paid for by Rockhouse Financial, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Well, we struggled with fertility from the very beginning of our marriage, and we had started seeing doctors here and just really didn't get comfortable with the clinics here. And so when we tried like some medicated cycles and all sorts of things, but when we found out that IVF was really our only option, we had started looking around and had a friend of a friend that went to this clinic in Barbados. And so we were like, well, that sounds pretty cool. But at first, we were like, we are not leaving the US for anything medical. Like there's no way that we would do anything like that. But really started researching it and looking into it, and found out that it's one of the best clinics in the world. And they're just so qualified, and they had great results. And we actually didn't ever get to take a honeymoon because of all the fertility. We were on like such a like strict schedule of having to go into the doctor at this time and that time. And it was just really hard to plan around. We had intended on taking a honeymoon this summer after we got married. So we got married in September and we're hoping to go in like May or June, and ended up having to cancel everything because of the fertility stuff. So we thought that Barbados would kind of be a nice way to get a little vacation and still be working towards having a family. So went there in November and December of 2019, and then ended up doing one retrieval. And we did genetic testing it was recommended for us, and we just kind of wanted some peace of mind, and knowing that the clinic was so far away, we just kind of wanted to make sure that whatever we would be transferring back would be genetically normal, just so in the hopes of avoiding a miscarriage and having to go back again and just more heartbreak. So we got one normal embryo out of our first round, and so we made the decision to try for a second round before we would do any transfers, just with the hopes that, while I'm as young as I was, and, my egg quality, I guess, was just kind of deteriorating just over time. So we wanted to go ahead and do as many retrievals as possible and then go back and do a transfer. So I went back in February, the month that Scott died, and did a second retrieval and ended up coming up with the exact same result of one normal embryo. So Scott didn't know. I mean, he died right before we got the results back. So he doesn't know that, or he didn't know that we got one more. But, not long after he was gone, I made the decision that I really wanted to still pursue motherhood. And, in my eyes, we've got these two embryos that are little humans, that are our children, that are just sitting in a freezer in Barbados. And so it was no question that it was something that I wanted to see through. So the clinic had a policy that you needed to wait at least 6 months, which was really a good idea because I was not in good shape for quite a while after he died. But so I went back 6 months later, and it was August 31st is when we did the transfer, and I'm pregnant with our son.
First of all, the fact that the clinic had a policy on this makes me know that this happens.
It hadn't ever happened there before, but I think it's just kind of like this blanket policy that if there's some huge traumatic event, that you wait a little while and just kind of make sure like that you really know what you're getting yourself into. That they wanted me to make sure that I had gone through some counseling, which I had, and just a variety of things just to make sure that your body's healthy, because stress has such an impact on every area of your body.
So were you prepared for it to fail? Like, I feel like that would have been such a gut punch that I don't even know if I would have been willing to try.
It was terrifying. I mean, it was just terrifying. And I really didn't know. I mean, my body had responded really well to IVF both times, just the rounds. My body did exactly what it should have with the medication, and I was very grateful for that. But you never know. And I was really, really afraid. It was strange, but in my mind, they were safer. And I felt like I still have these two babies that are just kind of like this thought, but they're safe and they're frozen and nothing can hurt them. And I was terrified that if I would transfer one or both, that my body would react poorly, or I wouldn't have just the right dosage of medication or whatever, and that I would lose them. But I also knew that, I didn't want them just sitting there forever. And yeah, but it was so terrifying. It was really, really scary.
We have a couple of widows in our group who are curious about what you've been through. Some, as you probably know, some widows get their husband's sperm frozen before, if they have cancer or something, before they do chemo, or maybe they were in the middle of IVF like you guys were. And so one of the big questions that people have is, okay, now I'm a widow. Now I'm going to do this alone. I know that I'm going to have extra support. And so family is often, of course, like the number one thing that we think of first. How has your family reacted to you wanting to continue on that pregnancy journey?
Overall, I think everyone's been really, really excited about it. It's very emotional, and so there hasn't been anybody that's been against it or hasn't, wanted me to pursue it because they knew that it was Scott's biggest dream to become a dad as well. But it's been really difficult, and it's been very bittersweet. My parents actually moved here this last October just to kind of help out and be around and know that this baby's coming and I'm going to need a ton of support. Even if I wasn't pregnant, I just needed a lot more support in my life without my husband. And his parents and one of his brothers and my sister-in-law, they're here as well. And so that's really wonderful to have both sets of grandparents close by. But it's very bittersweet. And once we started getting like the 3D ultrasound pictures, he looks so much like Scott, which is crazy. He just has so many of his features already. And it's hard. I mean, we all just cried and cried the first time we saw his little face because it's Scott. And it's tough. So it's been, and I cry all the time now, probably because I'm pregnant, but yeah.
You have a free pass for crying. You're like pregnant, widow, boom.
Right. But it's hard knowing just all that he's going to miss out on.
Yeah. Even putting myself in that position, it tugs at my heart too. Like thinking about, my husband not meeting his kids.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, this is you, and not getting to have all the joy of just watching somebody grow up, but also none of the responsibility. So maybe he skated out,
Yeah.
And support.
Yeah.
Support from Scott, physical support, and going to doctor's appointments with you and everything. Have you encountered much judgment from anybody that knows your story?
I've had one person that's just reached out online and have had some pretty negative things to say just about, a child should have a father and who's going to be the child's father, and that it's, but that's it. And that is, I took it with a grain of salt, but everybody else has been incredibly supportive. I mean, this whole experience, just from first just losing my husband and then being pregnant and going through IVF, I've met some of the most wonderful people, and I've just been connected with so many fellow like young widows and so many people that are going through IVF that have just been so incredibly supportive. And most of them I'll never meet. It's just people online. But I get baby gifts almost every single day from someone I've never met that just asks for my address or looks me up on Amazon. They're just, it's been so touching to see how people have really like cared and about somebody that they don't even know. And it's meant so much to me. But it also, I think like the reason that sometimes I sit back and I think about like the outpouring of love and support that I felt, but then I realize it's because this is such a tragedy, it's because it's so messed up and it's so wrong. And then and that makes me upset. This is rare. This doesn't happen it shouldn't happen to someone in their 30s that was married a year and a half. It's not normal. It's not natural. And I've been so, so grateful. But it's hard when you sit back and realize that people are just stunned by my story and shocked by it. And, I remember reading just some posts on Facebook. People were sharing some posts when I was giving updates just about him not going to be making it off life support. And, people were just commenting, oh, that can't be real. She just got back from IVF. So now she might be having a baby and her husband's dead. Like, it sounds like a Lifetime movie. And
Kind of.
it's like, yeah,
Yep.
it does.
Because that's the widow life. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah.
How long did it take you to feel like, yes, I'm going to do this? Was it pretty immediate, or did it take you a little while to think through that in your brain? I feel like for you, it might be different because you guys were on that path. It wasn't like the path you needed to jump on afterward. It was to continue on that path. But did you feel pretty certain early on?
I did. Yeah. And I think that just goes back to, it had been our focus for so long. And it was something that both of us have wanted, all of our adult lives, was to be parents. And I mean, when I said goodbye to Scott in the ICU, it was actually something I promised him, is that I would continue on and see it through. And so for me, it was a no-brainer, but I did need time. I needed time to just clear my head. And I mean, I couldn't eat for 6 weeks after he passed. I was so physically sick that it would not have been the right time to go and start all this medication and hope that my body would respond well. I definitely needed a break, but I knew in my head and in my heart that it was something that I definitely wanted to pursue.
Did you guys talk about names before he died?
We did. So, and I haven't shared the name because we chose it, and
Benjamin.
That it's
Charlie.
just been really, yeah.
Patrick.
That's been, it's been really special to me just to kind of have something still that's just like between me and Scott, if that makes sense. And people are just like, I don't know, dying to know his name. And I'm like, it's not like, I mean, it's a cool name, but it's not like it's this, like, I don't know. It's not going to be like this earth shattering name, but it's just, and it's not Scott. I've had a lot of people that have said, oh, I'm sure you're naming him Scott. And I'm definitely not doing that.
Pause here, because when Mel's Scott died, she named her dog Scott. And then we had...
No, it's Scotimus Prime. Scotimus Prime.
And then we had another widow and her husband died. His name was Scott, and she was pregnant at the time, and she named her son Scott. So there is some precedent for that, but it's a no-go.
Well, for me, it just felt, I don't know, it still feels, even though it's been a little over a year, it still feels so fresh to me. And it just feels like, in some ways, it feels like he's been gone for 15 years. And in some ways, it feels like it was yesterday. And some days I wake up and I forget that he's not here still. And so for me to name like our son Scott, that's just, it's just strange to me. It would be, I don't know. And I want this baby to have his own identity and his own life. And not, I mean, he's already got this like tragic story that he was born under, but I don't want that to be his whole story. And everywhere, he walks around, it's Scott Shellenberger. And, I want him to be a normal kid, and he'll obviously know about his dad and know the story, but it's just, I just want him to be his own person. And when I explain it, people understand, but I've had a lot of people that have just assumed that it would be Scott.
I like that you guys had discussed it before. That's so nice. A lot of people don't have that luxury. That's not the right word. A lot of people don't have that option. So I think that's awesome. You do whatever you want to do. Name your baby whatever you and Scott want to name the baby.
And I can't wait to hear what it is. If it is just like Frederick, it will be okay.
Yeah.
As a solo parent, even with great support, there is the issue of supporting yourself. So what kinds of things have gone through your mind as far as that? Do you have a plan? I mean, a long-term plan, short-term plan? How does one plan for this?
Well, to be honest, I think that was one of the hardest parts of just becoming a widow, and I'm sure everybody's experienced it, is all of the life changes that just like smack you in the face just instantly, that nobody would ever even think about, or that you're just not prepared for. And instantly my mind just, was like so foggy and I couldn't focus. But then I have like bills pouring in because Scott would handle like paying bills. And then I realized, okay, like I'm not going to be able to afford our home on my own or take care of it on my own, even if I could afford it. And we had planned for me to go down to a part-time teaching position so that I would be able to stay at home some with, children whenever we were able to get pregnant and have them. And we knew that IVF was going to be a big focus of this current school year. So I was supposed to be working just, 2 days a week this year, and quickly realized that that wasn't an option. And teachers in Oklahoma don't make like anything. So I ended up having to get a different job working for a charter school, but it pays quite a bit more. And so, I had to change jobs. I had to sell our farm and move to a farm that was more affordable. Just a variety of things that I had to sell and get rid of. And I still don't have it all figured out, but
It's so rude.
yeah, it's like the worst timing ever
Yes.
to have to, but that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize when they say things like, oh, I understand like what you're going through. I lost my grandma or I lost my dad. And all of like, that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, is that you really can't compare grief, because each loss is just so different and it comes with so many different consequences. But to me, I've lost grandparents and friends. I've never lost a parent, but it was just such a slap in the face when you lose your spouse. Literally every single aspect of your life is turned upside down.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, Mel, do you think that the widow Shellenberger sounds like a widow from Little House on the Prairie days? Because she's like, and I can't keep my farm. And
Yes.
yes.
It's going to make a great Lifetime movie, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't even need to change the names.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully that'll help pay some of these bills. So
yeah. You do you have your widow hat?
I'm not aware of a widow hat. So no.
You know, the black hat with the netting and like the flowers and the bow.
I don't.
We can get you one.
You need one of those to be an official,
yes,
widow.
It's true. Like you said about the grief comparison, it's not the same as losing your grandma or your parent. I imagine it's also the same for birth comparison. I mean, that takes a lot of courage and bravery and willingness to just see what the future holds to take that step. So
yeah,
it was a very intentional pregnancy, and you're doing it alone.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know that it's going to be extremely difficult, but I can't wrap my head around or tangibly feel how difficult it's going to be yet, because he's not here. But I heard a term the other day that just kind of stuck with me, and I guess there's kind of some people now that have lost their spouse are calling themselves lone parents, not single parents, because they say that quite often single parents have their ex or somebody that will take them on the weekends or every other weekend, or still are helping with expenses or different type, just caring for the child in different ways, and they're just there for support. And if you're a lone parent, you don't have that. There's no weekends off, there's no support coming in from an ex, there's nothing like that. And I know that there's tons and tons of single parents that don't have support from the other parent, but it's a very different type of pregnancy. It's a different type of situation, just bringing this baby into the world, just me. But I do feel very, very supported with family and friends and our community here. So I'm very thankful for that.
I call myself a solo parent, kind of like you. It's like, I'm not a single mom. I'm on my own.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is not having somebody else whose entire focus is that person, or every decision that they make is whether or not it will be beneficial for that baby. Because even grandparents, good friends, neighbors, and things like that, they love your kids, but they have their own set of, requirements, obligations to take care of. And so at the end of the day, they're not there for that child. It's just you. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that's scaring you. I shouldn't have said that.
No, I think, it's natural for your own child to be your priority. And
Yeah.
as much as I know that my family will support me and my friends, I don't expect my child to be their number one priority like he would have been Scott's and mine, and not now he's just mine.
Do you have any solo parenting advice to impart, Anita?
We've talked to several pregnant widows, and I'm just telling you, there's just like being a widow is something that you cannot explain to somebody. You can't explain the feelings and the emotions and just how gut-wrenching it is. It's the same with being a parent. You think that you understand how you're going to feel about a baby, and you're going to be like, I did not understand how much I can love somebody and be so frustrated at them at the same exact time. And I think, it's going to be hard, and it's also going to be amazing. And I think that you'll love having a piece of Scott. But there's also this expectation sometimes from moms that they're going to feel this immediate love and this immediate connection. Everything's going to be immediately great. And you don't have to put that on yourself either.
Yeah.
So.
I've been hearing about that. And I certainly, I think that that's kind of the expectation that you just kind of grow up with is, oh, when you're a mom, you're just going to fall so instantly in love. And I hope so badly that does happen. But I think it's natural after you've gone through just trauma and, just a lot of loss. I also lost a grandparent, and, it doesn't really compare, but one of our dogs who I've had for years and years, and our animals are just family to us. So I lost all three of them within about 6 months of each other. And so I just kind of got to a point where I just started getting sort of numb, and just haven't felt a lot since then, and so I don't know. I don't know how I will react instantly the second that he's handed to me. And I would expect that it'll be different than it would have been if Scott was right next to me, at my bedside in the hospital.
Well, I hope somebody also brings you a sandwich.
Yeah,
you get your baby and you get a sandwich.
Right.
One right after the other.
Yeah.
Mel's like, I support the sandwich.
I love sandwiches. Yes. Yeah. Don't give me a bouquet of flowers. I want a bouquet of sandwiches.
Yeah.
So Sarah, now you told us about the one rando on the internet that was like, every child needs a father. But on the other side of the father discussion, have you had anybody in your life that's tried to help you look down the road and say, well, maybe someday you will find another guy? And you're really not that far out from the death of Scott. And that's something that we don't always like to think about as widows, especially when it's like so fresh. It's just a tender topic, right?
Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
Somewhat. At the beginning, that was one of the most infuriating comments that I would get, with people saying, oh, you're so young, like you'll find somebody else. And I'm talking like while I'm at the hospital, people are saying this to me, and it's like, it made me want to vomit, because it felt so disloyal to even think about me with somebody else. And, and it just was so frustrating, because I'm thinking 24 hours ago, my husband's still here. You would never be suggesting that I would be, just starting to open my mind up and think about somebody else someday. And how dare you bring that up right now? But I think I don't think that they had that intention of, like that they were really thinking that, oh, Sarah will find somebody else. I think it was more of just, they were just trying to reach for words of comfort.
Yeah.
But
like the worst words.
Worst words. Yeah. But since then, I've had some discussions with my mom and dad and my mother-in-law. And I think that this past year, at first I was like, there is no way, like, this is just me, and I will spend the rest of my life, which could be 50 more years, just being by myself. And that Scott was my one great love, and that's the end of the story. But this past year, I've learned how just lonely life is when it's really just you. And if you don't have that, or for me personally, I so badly want to be part of a family, and having a child, I want that for him so badly too, to have somebody to, take him fishing and coach his baseball team and, be out there riding horses with him too, not just me. And those are all the things that Scott would have loved to have done. And so it's like, so it's like I want the companionship for myself, but I also want that for my son. And I mean, I'm nowhere. I mean, I don't even closely resemble what I normally look like. I'm so pregnant, and nobody wants to date a pregnant widow. And I am not even anywhere near ready for that. But I do hope that that is something that happens for me again one day. But, I'm also realizing it's going to take one heck of a guy to be, strong enough to step into my world and, number one, be with a widow. That's a whole different ball game. But number two, to raise somebody else's children that, don't know their dad and won't ever be gone on the weekends. Or, I mean, it would be their child in so many ways as well. And that's just a different level of responsibility. So
I have a question, and you can tell me that you don't want to answer this question.
okay.
So you mentioned your mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
How is your in-laws taking the idea of having a grandchild? Now, let me explain what I'm thinking. I would imagine that they would be so eager for that to happen, and almost to the point of ravenous, because they want a piece of Scott also. Has it been awkward at all, or are they concerned that maybe you're going to have this baby but not have a relationship with him, kind of a thing? Or are you guys just totally cool?
I've been blessed with just amazing in-laws, and our relationship has continued to grow throughout all of this. And I think the pregnancy has been harder on them than anybody else. It's just so bittersweet for them. And yes, they were just so excited as we started this process, and they wanted us to pursue IVF or adoption or whatever road. They were so supportive. But when he died, it changed things, and it took away just this 100% excitement, and it kind of reduced it to 50% excited, 50% heartbroken because he's not here. So I think just as the pregnancy has gotten further along, it's kind of starting to sink in for everybody. And my mother-in-law's gone to several appointments with me. She's been able to see the baby on the ultrasound, and she and my father-in-law are super invested and are very excited. But I mean, she told me the other day that it's really hard for her just to walk into a store and see a man with his son. It's just something that she knows that her son wanted so badly, and he'll never be able to experience. So I think once he's here, I think things will change some. I think that there'll be a lot more joy in all of our lives, just because I think babies naturally have a way of doing that. But, just kind of thinking about what it's going to be like and how much Scott's missing out on for all these months leading up to it has been hard on them.
Yeah, that's the definition of grief. It's half and half all the time. It's terrible.
Yeah. Is this bad to ask? How old are you? And if you don't want to say, it's fine.
No, so I just turned 40, so
we were the same age.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how has that been? Because isn't that considered a geriatric, in quotes, pregnancy?
Anyone over 35.
Advanced maternal age is what they call it now.
Okay. Well, I have no idea about any of this. I have no kids, but I'm 39. So okay. I would be in your same boat if I did that. How has that been? And have your doctors been supportive? Have they been setting you up? Do they also have a plan for you in case your postpartum depression comes and is really crazy with grief? What's that looked like?
I mean, it's my first pregnancy, so I don't really have anything else to compare it to as far as physically, has it been a lot harder or anything like that. But it's been a great pregnancy. It's been hard these last few weeks. Third trimester has really been rough, but my, first and second trimester were great. I felt great. I mean, it's been a very, very smooth pregnancy. So I've been really thankful for that. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more like risks involved. And I had to start off at a high risk doctor just because of my age and because of IVF. But after going through the necessary ultrasounds and everything was great, I don't have to go to them anymore. So that was nice. But yeah, my doctors have been incredible. Excuse me. And they have been just so supportive. I actually switched doctors. So Scott's cousin is an OB here at OU. And I reached out to her when I was about to go back to Barbados to transfer. And I just asked her if it would be possible for me to start being seen in their clinic because as I'm sure you guys have experienced, it's so exhausting to like keep telling the story like over and over and over again. And I just kind of wanted to start the journey of like transferring our baby with somebody that already knew the story, knew the situation, that I didn't have to explain everything to. And she was wonderful. And she said, of course, I can connect you with a great doctor. And the very first time I went in for my first appointment before I went and did the transfer, my doctor said, I know everything. You don't have to tell me anything. And that was just such like, I just started crying because I was I was relieved to not have to sit there in an uncomfortable situation anyway, as all OBGYN visits are, and explain, what had happened and what I was getting ready to go and try and do. And it's overwhelming. And so my doctors here have been so sensitive to everything. And they've actually put me on a couple of times. I went in and I had high blood pressure because I was just so anxious. So with IVF, you are on medication through your first trimester because your body doesn't naturally produce the same hormones and everything that you would if it was like a natural pregnancy. So when I went in after I'd stopped all the medication, I was like, he's not going to be there. Like there's not going to be a heartbeat. And I would just prepare myself every month for I would lay in bed like the night before and I would start to get really anxious. And the whole like drive to my doctor, I would just be telling myself, okay, you're going to hear the words, there's no heartbeat, or I'm so sorry. Cause I had just gotten used to that. I just gotten used to like, your world like crashing down. And so I'd had high blood pressure a couple times. And then after they did find his heartbeat, everything was fine. My blood pressure was great. But they even offered to kind of put me on a high blood pressure plan. So I'm getting weekly ultrasounds now, which is awesome. And just to kind of help with my anxiety. And it's been so beneficial for me to be able to go in every single week and see him on that screen and hear his heartbeat and talk to my doctor. And they've just really gone above and beyond. And it's made a huge difference for me this pregnancy.
Here's another question that maybe is putting the horse before the donkey, the cart before the donkey.
Before the rescue donkey.
Before the rescue donkey. Do you have plans for the second embryo, or is that just like, let's just get through this and then figure out?
No, at this point, my plan is to go back when he's about 1 years old and transfer the second, just because of my age.
Yeah.
If I was 10 years younger, I might put it off for a couple years, but just when he turns 1, I would love to go back and try the second one and see what happens.
Is the baby's name going to be Igor Vince Francis?
Maybe.
IVF.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There's a good chance. Yeah.
If I guessed it, I expect somebody to buy me a bag of Starbursts. Okay.
Absolutely. 3 horse rides for the rest of your life.
Guess how many jelly beans are in the jar? Instead of, it's like, guess what Sarah is going to name her baby?
Yeah.
Well, what's going to be fun is that your episode might come out after the baby's born, and so then we can put in a little thing and be like, Anita was not even close.
Nope, it was not Igor.
And she does not get a bag of Starbursts, and so her life is terrible.
Sarah, do you get a lot of people reaching out that are in your same kind of circumstance, that are maybe thinking about whether to become pregnant with embryos they have frozen? How common is that, and have you noticed?
I had one lady I don't know if lady's the right term, but girl that reached out that had sperm, and she has been going through the process. But I think her husband, I think it's been like 5 or 6 years since he passed away. So it's a little different, but that's really it. I don't know. I mean, I have people that reach out a lot that are widows or that reach out that are doing IVF, but it's really, really rare to find both. So it's a pretty narrow group.
We love that you are willing to share your story because it is so unique and so personal. So thank you. We really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
Yes. And I just want to wish you like the best of luck. I hope everything goes so smoothly. And don't you feel like you deserve just smooth sailing? You're like,
That would be great.
I
From
paid
here
my
on out, it
dues.
could just be, yeah.
It's not always how it works, but we definitely hope that it works that way. And little Igor is so cute
Yep.
when he's
Gonna be a
born.
cutie.
With
Yeah.
a little
yeah.
button nose.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Sarah, we have a very important question.
Okay.
Right, Mel?
Very.
What is your favorite cheese?
Probably brie,
Ooh.
which I've not been able to have
Yeah,
while I'm
because
pregnant.
it's soft cheese.
So I'm excited to have brie again.
What has been your go-to pregnancy cheese? That sounds like the worst sentence
Oh
ever
my gosh.
uttered.
Oh my gosh, Anita.
I mean, I've had like cheese sticks. I went through like a 2-week period where I kind of craved cheese sticks.
Mm-hmm. Like string cheeses, like
Yeah,
mozzarella.
just like mozzarella, string cheese. But that's really been it. I haven't had a big relationship with cheese since I've been pregnant.
Guys, just because I'm not well versed in pregnancy things, I know I could Google this and everybody that's been a mom is going to be like, you're so dumb, Mel, for asking this. But will you tell me and the people that are like me why you cannot have soft cheeses?
Nobody knows.
Seriously?
No, they do.
Yeah, I actually Googled it last night because I had a Greek salad and ate some feta, which I know you're not supposed to, but I ate some feta because I love feta cheese also, and there wasn't much on it. And then I Googled afterwards, like, how, bad is it that I ate feta cheese while I'm pregnant? I guess there's a risk of, with the soft cheeses, listeria. So it just depends if it's like pasteurized and all of that. So it's not like
Germs.
high risk, but yeah.
Being pregnant sucks for so many reasons.
Yeah, there's a long list of things you're not supposed to do, and some of those things I found out months into.
I'm not supposed to handle kitty litter either.
What?
Did you know that? Mm-hmm.
No, why? The same
Because
thing?
there's another
Feline bacteria.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can't do.
Toxoplasmosis is, I think, what is in kitty poop. So there you go. There's your little gee whiz fact. Update. Sarah has had her baby. When we recorded this, she wasn't quite ready to deliver, and he was born, I think, a week and a half ago, and his name is Hayes. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. We hope everybody has found Sarah's story to be amazing, and we wish her the best in what happens after we're done here. Remember to check out the Widow Wives Club on Facebook. Answer all the questions. We'd love to have you be a part of our group. And then check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
Or buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonow if you prefer another option.
Until we talk to you next time, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Sarah.
And we're just two young widows and one widow who couldn't keep the farm.
The first farm.
The first farm. She had to downsize the farm. And we're just trying to figure out, widow we do now.
This is my favorite thing to discuss with you.
Tell me, what is it?
One of my favorite things. I do enjoy tacos and cheese and dogs. This is about how you cannot pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone plan, especially when you're a widow, your person is dead, you might have kids, you might need another option, and you just want your phone to work, you want unlimited texting and service, and you want it to be like $25 a month.
It blows my mind that they have plans that start at $15 a month. That is so cheap. And the cool thing is it uses other 5G networks. And so you don't have to pay extra for that. And you still get great service.
Yep. Anita and I have traveled all over and I have used my phone. So I highly recommend it. And my mom's even on it. When my dad died, we put his phone down to the cheapest plan, which is $15 a month. And I think my mom's on the $20 a month plan, and it's so worth it. It's so much cheaper than what we were all paying before. So I highly recommend it if you're on a budget or not. Who cares? Ryan Reynolds is in charge of the company, and they send you free stickers with Ryan Reynolds temporary tattoos. It's kind of the best. So if somebody wants to sign up, what can they do, Anita?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. Seriously, you guys, such a great idea. Save yourself some money.
And if you're worried about losing data or having any changes with your phone, not going to happen. They walk you through it. Everything's fine. It's the easiest process of all time. Again, that's
trymintmobile.com/WWDN.